Hello and welcome to Gefet in the Daf Yomi. I'm Yael Shimoni, bringing to you today the Shir of Rabbanit Chana Godinger Dreyfus, given in Hebrew. I'll be translating it into English. You will have also writing in Hebrew and writing in English to accompany the shirin. So today we're dealing with an issue that is philosophical and also, of course, has to do with law. When do we have certainty? When do we have certainty in law? Or to phrase it differently, when can we decide, if we're not sure if something happened, to decide that it did happen to the extent that we can actually go and do laws according to a certain event? So this is a philosophical question, but it is coming into sugya with very uneasy feelings, because here we're discussing issues that have to do with marriage and have to do with betrayal in marriage. And the question that we'll be checking here today is whether or not, if there are rumors that a woman has been unfaithful for a specific man, can this be a reason for her to be usher on her husband and actually to have to divorce him? And also, can she marry the person who the rumors are dealing with? So remember, we're asking a bigger question, but of course, this bigger question is connected directly to these specific situations that have all kinds of faces to them, and we will go through the sugya and the big machloket rishonim that we have in the sugya. So hold on tight. We're going straight in and be ready. We begin with the Mishnah. The Mishnah, הנטען על השפחה ונשתחררה, או לעובדת כוכבים שהתגיירה, הרי זה לא יקנוס, ואם כנס אין מוציאים מידו. This will not be dealing with, it's a different issue of ishut and arayot, but we're dealing with the seifta of the Mishnah. הנטען על אשת איש והוציאוה מתחת ידו, אף על פי שכנס יוציא. What's the seifa of the Mishnah? We have a person who has rumors about him. That's what it sounds like. Hanit'an. People are saying about him that he was unfaithful with another woman that was married at the same time when they had intercourse. That's what's being claimed towards this husband and towards this person. And the question is, can this person marry the woman who people are claiming that he was the reason why she had to be divorced? So the question that's unclear in the Mishnah is, what exactly is being said about this man? Is there proof? Is this only rumors, or maybe half rumors? There's a very unclear word in the Mishnah, hanit'an. This man is being nit'an against. But what are the ways in which people are being nit'an against this man? First of all, we start with the idea of Rav. Rav goes into this word and says, when it says in the Mishnah nit'an, we're talking about aiding. Let's read the Gemara and see how Rav claims this. Hanit'an al eshet ish, this is a quotation from the Gemara. Amarav ube'edim. Rav says, you can't come to Beit Din without edim. When this person is standing there in Beit Din, people are claiming something against him, they're bringing edim. Rav Sheshet doesn't like what Rav said. And let's see what Rav Sheshet says. Amar Rav Sheshet, Amina kinaim v'shachiv Rav amar leha ishmateta. Rav Sheshet says, it sounds to me that Rav said this while he was half asleep. Why? Why does Rav Sheshet disagree with Rav? Well, Rav Sheshet brings a proof to his disagreement. Detanya, a proof from a Braita. Hanitan al eshet ish v'otziwa al yado v'nitgarsha mitachat yedei acher. Im kanas lo yotzi. The Braita says that if we have a man who was being nit'an, the same word that is used in the Mishnah, nit'an al eshet ish, v'otziwa al yado, we have a man, let's call him X, okay? We have man X. And man X was said to have intercourse with a woman Y that was married to Z at that time. And because of that claim, the Beit Din told Y that she cannot continue to be married to Z. So she was divorced. That's what's written here. The reason why Y finished her marriage was because of what people were talking about X. The story continues. What happened? Y went and married a different man, not her husband, and not the person who people were talking about, a different man. If she divorced and wants to remarry the person who people were talking about him, that's okay, she can marry him. When can she marry him? Only if in the meantime, after her first divorce, she went and married another person, then she divorced again, she can marry the person who people were talking about, that he was the reason why she divorced in the first place. That's the Braita. The Braita that Rav Sheshet brings in order to say that what Rav said does not make sense. Why does this Braita prove that what Rav says does not make sense? Says Rav Sheshet, Hechidami. Idika edim ki ata acher ve'afsele lekala mai havi. I lav deleka edim v'tama de'ata acher ve'afsele lekala halav ha'achim afkinan. Says Rav Sheshet, this is a proof that what Rav says is not right. This is a proof that we're not talking about aiding. This Baraita is not talking about aiding. Why? Because if there are aiding that actually saw that Y had intercourse with X, and that's why she had to divorce, it doesn't matter if she married A. How does marrying A and divorcing A, allowing her to remarry the person that she's asur on? We have an Easter Torah that Rashi brings here on the Mishnah, asura la bal, asura la boel. If there was a woman who committed adultery, so she's not only asur on her husband, she's also asur with the person with which she committed adultery with. And if that's actually the case, no situation will be matir this isur. She is asur forever on X. So obviously, says Rav Sheshet, the Braita is not talking about aiding. The only reason why a woman can remarry the person who people say that she had an affair with, it's because nobody really knows if the affair takes place, because it's only a kol, it's only a taina, it's no aiding. If it's a taina, I can understand why if she went and married A and then divorced, that's why she will be allowed to marry that person. Because we think that the fact is that you went and married a different man proves that there wasn't anything, nothing really happened. So that's why she went and married a different person, and people are not talking anymore about this affair that was somewhere in the history, and that's why she can remarry the person who people said about him that they think that he had an affair with this woman. So that's Rav Sheshet's proof from the Braita. So it looks as if Rav, his claim in the Mishnah does not make sense, because Rav is saying Eidim, but if it's Eidim, it won't work with the Braita. Says the Gemara, we will save Rav. How will we save Rav? Rav has an okimta. Rav says that the matnitin that says that you have to have Eidim is talking about a woman who has children and a man who has children. That's why she has to have Eidim in order to be forced to divorce her husband. But if she does not have children, even if there's only a kol, a rinun, people are claiming things, she will also have to divorce her husband. Why? Why does this okimta take place? Well, the answer, I think, is very clear. If somebody's claims that a woman had an affair and she doesn't have children, it has only to do with that man, her husband, and the woman. No one else is affected by it. And therefore, we can take it seriously and act upon it, because the hardest situation we'll have is that this woman cannot marry immediately the person who people were saying that she was having an affair with. But if she has children, and we will actually tell her that she has to divorce, that has implications on her children. Maybe her children will be considered mamzerim, and maybe people will be talking about her children as if they are mamzerim. And we do not want to have mamzerim, so we will only have that kind of a divorce if we're 100% sure by Eidim that something like this really happened. So that's Rav's first idea in the Gemara. Again, I'm summing up Rav. Rav according to this part of the Gemara, thinks that there are two different Mekorot that are both according to his idea, the Mishnah and the Braita. The Braita is talking about a woman who does not have children, therefore she will be divorced even if there are only rumors of an affair. But nevertheless, if she marries another person and divorces again, she will be able to marry the person who people were talking about her having an affair with. But the Mishnah is talking about a woman with children, therefore she will not be divorced unless they're aiding that there was an affair. And therefore, if we only have a call, we won't do anything regarding that call. So we see that we consider what truth is or what truth is in order to act upon it differently in different situations. What makes the situations different is the question of mamzerim, which is here in the background. The Gemara continues and says, Ibait Ema, I'll give you another option, another way to understand Rav. Ibait Ema, ahane matnitin rebihi, לתניא, אוכל יוצא ואישה חוגרת בסינר אמר רבי, הואיל ומכוער הדבר תצא. רוק למעלה מן הקהילה, אמר רבי, הואיל ומכוער הדבר תצא. מנהלים הפוכים תחת המיטה, אמר רבי, הואיל ומכוער הדבר תצא. The Gemara says maybe there is a machloket between Rabbi and Rav. The Mishnah is according to Rav. The Braita cannot work with Rav because the Braita obviously is talking about rumors and not about aiding, the way that Rav Sheshet explained to us. But maybe these are machloket between Tanaim, that the Mishnah is according to Rav and the Braita is according to the Shita of Rebbe, because Rebbe has a Shita that thinks that even if a woman has children, he doesn't say if it has children, it doesn't have children. He thinks that a woman has to divorce a man if there are rumors regarding her maybe affair. What kind of rumors? So, okay, first let's see. These are not just rumors. It's not just people talking. We're talking about what we might call circumstantial evidence. What is Rabbi describing? We have a man who is a rochel, we'll call him the rochel. He sells things from house to house. A man comes into his house and he sees suddenly this salesman going out and his wife with her underwear standing there. So, okay, it looks as if something happened. Maybe we're not sure that they actually had intercourse, but something happened. Something here is not right. Amar Rebbe, ho'ilu mechoar hadavar tetzeh. This is a ki'ur. A ki'ur is enough to say that a woman has to divorce her man. Other examples here of circumstantial evidence, we won't go into all of them. If you're dealing with questions, what can one person say about the other, whether or not he had an affair, these are important sugyas, and each thing that Rebbe says here has to be really considered carefully. So let's sum up the sugya up till now. We have a machloket between Rav and Rebbe that is obvious. Rebbe thinks that for many other reasons, not only if you have eidim, also if you have circumstantial evidence that something mechoah, something ugly took place, then a woman has to divorce. It's a reason for divorce. Rav said that only if you have eidim. What we weren't sure about Rav was whether or not Rav thinks that sometimes he will also think that if I don't have eidim, I will tell the woman to divorce the man. The first understanding of Rav said that Rav thinks that if a woman has children, then only eidim. But if a woman does not have children, then he will allow or will demand a woman to divorce, even though there are no eidim. But the second understanding of Rav is that Rav always thinks that you have to have eidim, and he will never accept, even if the woman does not have children, he only has to have eidim in order to say that a woman will divorce a man. And Rabbi is a very big bar plukta here that thinks that always, doesn't matter if a woman has children, doesn't have children, even if there are only rumors, but rumors that are more substantial, there's enough to say that there's something ugly going on here to say that the woman will divorce. So, what we don't understand here is Rebbe. Because when we explained Rav, it made a lot of sense that the fact that children are involved will make a difference. And it's hard to understand what Rebbe thinks that any rumor, right, it's a substantial rumor, but any rumor will actually cause a woman to divorce from her man. This has implications. We will see there's a very big machloket rishonim here between Rashi and Rif and Baalei HaTosfot. So first, let's look at Rashi. Says Rashi the following, V'hi bait ema belo edim lo nafka, belo edim, בלא בנים לא נפקא בלא עדים, והני מתניתי דאמרי נפקא רבי אמראו דמפיק אישה מבעלה בכל כל דהו. Rashi says, yes, Yael, this is exactly the machloket. Rabbi thinks that we're not talking about mamzerim. We're talking about whether or not a woman should divorce. And if the Beit Din does not say that these people are mamzerim, they're not mamzerim. We don't care about what people talk about because these people are wrong. But we are sure that this woman has to divorce her man, and that's what Rabbi thinks. And Rav is the bar plukta here and says that the fact that there are children involved will change the way, that will change the procedure, will change what we're willing to accept as a reason for a man and a wife to divorce. But if you look at the page, you will see on the side of the page in Yevamot, a Tosfot, which is called Tosfot Echad Mikamai. There are all kinds of additional perushim on the sides of the Gemara. Sometimes it's Rabbeinu Gershom, sometimes it's Rabbeinu Hananel, sometimes it's Tosfot Yishanim. We have Tosfot Echad Mikamai. And here, this Tosfot says that what Rashi said is a machloket between the Rishonim. נראה מפירוש רש"י ז"ל דבדבר מכוער מפקינן לה מבעלה, as we explained. והרב אילפס, which is the Rif, כתב, כל דהו נטען מפקינן מיני בדבר מכוער, אבל מבעל לא מפקינן אלה בעדים. ומסתברא כבתי דעה גמרינן דבר עם ממון, מה להלן דבר ברור ולא באמתלה, אף כאן דבר ברור ולא באמתלה ולא בדבר מכוער. The Tosfot Echad Mikamai brings the Rif that claims, Yael, you misunderstood the sugya. It is true that the Mishnah spoke about whether or not a woman has to divorce her husband. But the second part of the Gemara is not talking about the husband. It is talking about the person who she had an affair with. Asura labal and asura laboel. The question is whether or not this boel, this man that she had an affair with, married her. Are we forcing him to divorce her? It's a couple that wants to marry, and we're saying, no, we're not allowing you to marry. And even if you did marry, we are saying, fine, you married, but now you have to give her a get. In order to understand this, let's go to Tosfot and see how Tosfot helps us understand this. But again, I'm summing up the machloket between Rashi and the Rif. Rashi thinks that we're talking all along the sugya whether or not a woman has to divorce her husband. According to the Rif, no. To divorce your husband, you have to have eidim. For the reason that we said, the reason we did not say. Let's say it full length, as it was written in the Tosfot Echad Mikamai. We know that in Torah we have a rule that al pi shnayim edim yakum davar. You cannot do anything without eidim if you want to change something the way you perceive reality. Al pi shnayim edim yakum davar. We might have thought that this law of al pi shnayim edim yakum davar is only relevant in areas that don't have to do with marriage. Maybe in marriage we are more lenient to listen to all kinds of talks without eidim. Says the Tosfot Echad Mikamai, no, because we have a gzerat katuv. You have al pi shnayim edim yakum davar. You have the pasuk v'chi matzah ba'ervat davar. We learned that the same rules of understanding reality in other areas of Torah, Dinei Mamonot, and Dinei Nefashot are the same rules that you will also have when it comes to the question of women and men, marriage and divorce. So that's what the Rif claims, and therefore, says the Rif, if we're talking about rumors, we cannot talk about whether or not a woman has to divorce. We can talk about, are we allowing her to marry the man that people are saying that she had an affair with? And there, we can intervene. Not isur labal, but isur laboel. So that's machloket Rashi and Rif. We'll see in the Tosfot that the Tosfot goes along with the Shita of Rif. And we will begin with Rabbeinu Tam. Amar Rabbeinu Tam, דתצא מן הרוכל אם נישאת לו. Rabbeinu Tam is like the beef, and he says, when Rabbi says tetzeh, he's not talking about tetzeh from her husband. He's talking about tetzeh from the man who we think she had an affair with, which is the salesman, the rochel. B'kol ha'sugya ayre benitan. That's what Rabbeinu Tam says. All the sugya is only talking about asur laboel. Of course, isur labal is only be'edim. How do we know that? So first of all, says Rabbeinu Tam, ואין לומר תצא מן הבעל, דאין האישה נאסרת על בעלה אלא על ידי כינוי וסתירה או שיראו דרך המנאפים. Rabbeinu Tam says, listen, I have a lot of other sugiyas talking about how a woman has to divorce her husband. It is true that there's a slight difference, a big difference between marriage and other areas of the Torah, because we have the dinim of sota, and we know that if there was a procedure of kinui vestira, which means that there were edim who were seeing a woman being mitiached with another man, and her husband tells her, I will not, you're going over Isur Yichud, that you know, but now I'm telling you that if you will meet this man again, that will be a kinui. Then if another person sees her Eid Echad, then she's an Isha Sota, and we go through all, she's maybe Sota, and we go through all the procedure of Sota. That's not regular Dinei Re'ayot. It's not Al Pi Shnai V'dim Akum Davar, but it is also not, says Rabbeinu Tam, Davar Mechuar. If you want to have a woman to be divorced from her husband, either you have to have Eidim or you have to have this procedure of Kinui V'stira. And also, we know of another difference between the Dinei Re'ayot and of all the Torah and about divorce. When you want to look at a person selling something, you have to see exactly the Ma'aseh Kinyan. But when it comes to intercourse, you don't have to see the intercourse itself. It can be Kederech HaMena'afim. So that is true, says Rabbeinu Tam, that in order to have a woman divorce her husband, it can be Kederech HaMena'afim. You don't have to see the actual act. It can also be according to Kinui V'stira. That's true, but nobody talked about Davar Mechuar. These are our rules, not Davar Mechuar. So obviously, when Rebbe is talking about Davar Mechuar, he's talking only about, are we allowing this woman to marry the person who we are suspecting that she had an affair with? 2, Ve'od, דלגבי בעל הווקלה דבתר נישואין דאמר באישה רבה דקלה דבתר נישואין לא חיישינן ברוק למעלה בגג הקהילה לא עדיף מקלה דלא פסיק. דעה בסמוך אמר דלרבי מפקינן אפילו בקלה דפסיק מכוח הברייתא. אלא ודאי תצא מן הרוכל אם נסע דרוק למעלה בגג הקהילה ויקלה דמקמא נישואי רוכל וכן פירש רבנו חננאל. Well, I'm a little short on time, so I think I will skip this proof because we really wanted to focus on the first proof, because that has rules that have to do with the inyanim of nisuim in other places of Shas. So I'm just continuing with the Tosfot, and I want to do a focus on the last part of the Tosfot. You should know that the Ri also joins Rabbeinu Tam and also has a proof of his own. So we have Rashi on one side that says that if you have a call, according to Rebbe, you can divorce, but the Rif and Rabbeinu Tam and the Ri are standing against Rashi and saying, no, never will a woman divorce her husband if you don't have either Eidim or Kinui V'stira or Eidim that saw approximately intercourse. But obviously, because we know of all the other sugyot, and nobody says that without Eidim you can divorce your husband. So what are we talking about? Only about the suspicion regarding the person who you might have had an affair with, and that's the person who we are saying you're usher to marry, and if he married you, he has to divorce you. At the end of Tosfot asks, I said interesting things, true things, but I have a sugya which is against me and is on the side of Rashi. He brings the sugya and he tries to solve the sugya. So let's follow through the last part of the Tosfot because it adds another important part in this puzzle of what do we do in situations that an affair has been claimed and who is claiming that there was actually an affair. So we're in the Darim Tzadik Ayin. Says the Tosfot, go to the Darim Tzadik Ayin and you'll see there is a big question regarding me. What is happening there and why is it a question? So let's read the Darim Tzadik Ayin. It's Tzadik Aleph, excuse me. ההוא גברא, דהבה מחזיק בביתה, הוא ואינתתה. על עתה מרי דביתה. פרטי נואף להוצא וערק. אמר רב אינתתה שריה, מיתא דעבד איסורא אירקוס הווה מירחס. What's happening here? A man, he was in a house with a woman, and then a married woman. And then the lord of the house, her husband, comes home. And when the husband comes home, this man who was in this house with this woman runs out of the house. Rava says, everybody saw this man running out. Rava says, this woman is not asur on her husband. Itata sharia. Why? If they actually would have had intercourse, this man would not have run out of the house. He would have tried to hide in the house. He would have hidden much stronger because he would not want everyone to see him if something really happened. So that's why it shows, the situation shows that nothing really happened. She's not usher on her husband. Why is this a kushia on Tosfot? I remind you, Rashi said, if we have suspicion, if it's good suspicion, we will tell a woman to divorce her husband. We will force him to divorce her. But here, and Rabbeinu Tam said, no way. You cannot have a person divorce his wife unless you have aiding or kinui v'sira. But here, the sugya is talking about a situation when there were no aiding. Obviously, we're talking about a man running out of a house. There were no aiding. And still, Rava has to explain in a very sophisticated way. He's doing like this with his finger. Why we're not taking this as proof? But if Tosfot is right, obviously this is not proof. Tosfot said rumors are not enough. To a man running out of a house is obviously not enough. Why is Rava not just saying what Tosfot thinks? Why is he starting to explain why? Maybe yes, maybe no. Proving again that this woman is mutaret. But this doesn't make sense. If Tosfot is right, this Gemara should have been written totally different. Obviously, this Gemara thinks like Rashi that sometimes rumors or all kinds of things that you see are a reason to tell a woman you divorce your husband, tell a husband you have to divorce your wife. So how will Tosfot fix this problem? How will it be metaretz the kushia? And he brings a tirutz of Ri, which adds another very important part of the puzzle in understanding how we look at reality and how we understand what happened, what didn't happen, how we decide to move according to what we know. Says the Ri the following, נראה לרי, דהתה בו אומרת מאני, כי מתניתין דהתם דהלקאי, ואפילו הכי שריה מהני תהמי, אבל הוא אומרת טהורני, שריה בלאו הני תהמי, דהתם. Says Ri, I'll tell you why this story is different. This story in Adarim is talking about a woman who said that she had intercourse with this man. We didn't see anything. The woman is saying something happened. The man is not saying anything, but the woman is claiming that, yes, indeed, they had intercourse. But we didn't see this. So can we take the woman's word and believe her that indeed she was committing adultery with this man? Says the Ri, no, we don't believe her. Why don't we believe her? ואין לי תמוה, says the Ri. אמי שריה, כיוון שאומרת טמאה, השביה לנפשה חתיכה דאיסורה. The Ri says, we have a different rule that you haven't learned yet, that if a person says that he is asur, then he is asur. Shavya nafsha chaticha d'isur. This woman, she said that she had intercourse. She turned herself to an isur. She's saying that she's tmea. Says the Ri, no. When a woman says that she's tmea, we don't believe her. Why? לפי שראו חכמים שנתקלקלו אנשים ניתן עיניהם באחר, ורוב האומרות כן משקרות, לכן נראה להם להתירן. Says the Ri, at first you would believe women, but then Chachamim saw that women sometimes wanted to leave their original marriage, and they looked for a way to get divorced, and they wanted to marry a specific person, so they would make up a story that they committed adultery, even though it was not true, in order to be released from their marriage so they can marry the person who they wanted to marry. So as I said before, this sugya is bringing us a lot of food for thought, and we really should learn be'iyun this and say, what is this chazaka? What happened? What is the Ri claiming? But this is what the Ri is saying, and here again, we're just opening a little bit in order to understand more. So the Ri said, even if a person is claiming that he did something, we don't always believe him. if we have good reason to believe that he's lying, we won't believe him. This woman, we don't believe her, even though she is saying that she's Tamea. The only way that we will take her out of her marriage and force her husband to give her a get is if we have Edim, and not if we have Kol. And this whole sugya that we have here in Yevamot is talking only about the person who are suspecting that they had an affair together and not about her original husband. So let's sum up. We asked ourselves, what does a Beit Din consider as truth? We know that Edim is one way, but here the sugya suddenly said that also rumors might be a reason for us to say that a woman should divorce her husband. But then we saw that there's a machloket rishonim about that. Rabbi thinks that there's a difference if they're children or not. And according to Rabbi, you always can listen to rumors. And then we saw that there's a machloket rishonim. When Rabbi says that you can always listen to rumors, does he really mean that you can always listen to rumors regarding a woman to divorce her husband? And we saw that the Rif and Rabbeinu Tam and the Re think that no, that's only regarding the Isur of to the boil and not the Isur to the husband. So when we talk about when does Beit Din act upon different evidence, it will really make a difference what we're discussing. I hope you enjoyed this Gefet, and take care in your learning of Yevamot, which is a harder Masechet dealing with harder issues and also with interesting questions on how to do Din and what is truth in the eyes of Beit Din. Take care.